G'day traders, we're going to wrap up of Tuesday the 4th of September. So the start of a brand new month, of course Monday being public holiday in the US, so there was no trading. You can see we're getting some support off this little bit of a region here, so just drew this line back in when we basically made this little bit of a swing low right here. The market popped up, looked like it was trying to put some pressure on back on these highs and maybe push higher, and just then all of a sudden it started to retrace again, so or pull back I should say. So if it was going to come back and put some pressure on this sort of point here, interested in seeing what it wants to do. So at the moment it's finding support there, but it's certainly still a region to keep an eye on. If the market can get down underneath it, it'll certainly trigger some selling. And today was an interesting day. Before I go to the shorter term charts, I'll just bring up the 15-minute chart, and basically you can see here a really decent push down and then an even better push to the upside, and we've got a really solid 10-point move in a short space in the afternoon there. I can draw in a line. Basically at the moment there's no significant trend lines as far as the 15-minute chart is concerned, but definitely what's significant at the moment is 1396. So you can see back here there's a trend line. If you draw it through, it's not really impacting the market at the moment. If you look at this period here, it's very much within a fairly large channel, but again, the market's reacting to 1396, not just this area here. If you go back, 1396 was really quite significant area that we talked about all through, where is it? This period through here, and even back a little bit further, all through here. It's not, I haven't got it drawn in at the moment, but 1396, this is only a couple of weeks ago, was really significant. The market was using as resistance when it got underneath it, using as support once it got above it. And it's just an area that at the time was just, the market kept on reacting to it. We're back to that situation now where it's dealing around this 1396. You can see, just getting some really good bounces off it, and certainly watched it. It's an area got marked in on the charts as we're trading live, and saw the market just come down, and as we bring up the 1 minute chart, you'll see just created basically a reversal formation right around that 96 region. So it'll be interesting to bring that up and have a look. But certainly that's where the momentum changed, and from a selling situation we started to go up. So I'll start with the 1 minute chart to go through it actually, just to sort of explain it. So if I draw in 96 here, right here it is here roughly. So what happens is this market, obviously they push down, they pop back up. Watching this sort of start of the market here, all the markets are trying to push down except for the Russell. This is quite a key later on in the market, because the Russell's one really started this eventual push up in the afternoon, but all the markets here were pushing down except for the Russell was really holding back and resisting the downside. The markets then popped up probably as a result of the Russell. Then they went again on the downside again twice. So you can see here, push down, popped up, push down. This third time, eventually the Russell gave way, and that's why it's really beneficial to watch other markets, especially the Russell. It can tend to have quite a big influence on what these markets do, and can very much lead them in certain directions. So when you see the Russell resisting, it doesn't look like it's ready to go, but then all of a sudden this one went, and the Russell, as a result, gave way and decided to go with the other markets and head on the downside, and then they could push lower, and this is where this downside started to trigger. From this period here, this is where the reversal pattern forms. You can see we're making lower lows and lower highs, and that sort of started switching to higher lows and higher highs basically through this period here. But you sort of be bouncing off 96, and then we're getting back up and then bouncing. So where it could get through earlier on, as this reversal pattern starts to continue on, you can see it starts to hold the market up, and that's where it just never got back underneath that, and 1396 was it was basically its launching pad for where the market's eventually headed up here. But interesting enough, when you watch the other markets all through this region here, and basically through here there was a 5 minute sell setting up right here, which we'll get to in a sec. One that you definitely wouldn't want to be a part of if you're watching a reversal pattern starting to form, and also the other markets, especially the Russell, just really start to push up. So when this market was going sideways here, it was other markets and the Russell right here that really just popped up and started breaking out this range and heading straight back up to some of these levels that we had created earlier on. So very much a leading indicator there that they're trying to head up. As far as this 5 minute chart's concerned, so here's this basically this period where they tried to go lower, they popped up, And just right here, like it showed on the 1 minute chart, that they went a couple of times, but eventually it was when the Russell gave way. We had this really massive push to the downside, quickly rushed down to this 1396, and this is where it's found support and got some that reversal pattern starting to form. You can see the market's popped up, so typically where this is triggered a 5 minute sell, it's like you get a trend, you get a retracement or a pullback, and then a continuation back to the lows, and that's ideally what you want to see with a 5 minute sell, as long as you've got everything going for you. But this particular case, quite an easy one to leave behind, just because there was support through this region, there was reversal patterns, and other markets were certainly getting some momentum to the upside. So even if all you did was watch the other markets, you'd see in this little section here, when this is saying sell, you look over and you see the Russell breaking up and breaking some of these points through here on the upside. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's always going to go up, but it's a fairly clear signal that the markets, at this stage, is trying to start a new direction. That's the difference between the market just treating this as a retracement and then going lower, or whether it's just this pop, whether this movement to the upside is actually a start of a new direction. And the best way to get that indication for me is really watching other markets. You'll see them just pushing through levels and trying to go higher when they're staying in a direction like here. If they intend on going lower, you should see the other markets hold and stick around this area and even start to put some pressure on the lows. So from here, momentum started to change, and this is where the reversal really started to come into form here. The Russell was really getting going in this particular section right through here, and basically there's a couple of areas which I think is quite reasonable to buy. As it's sort of starting to really push up here and break out this little bit of a sideways range right here, buying sort of around here, and only in the right circumstances. There's obviously, we talked about reversals and other markets really going on the upside, so don't see it as too early. You got to be very careful. If you don't have the other market support, buying here is very dangerous. But in the right circumstances, buying here and then having a stop, say, below this sideways range, so that means the market's got to really get out of this reversal pattern, go against all the other markets to break back down lower and make a lower low, or basically get lower of this sideways range. Very unlikely to happen. Probability of it happening is quite low. So some sort of buying formation right here, just as the predictive's poking up, or even sort of a 5 minute fade, or as it pushes up higher, sort of buying as it pulls back and tests the top of this previous sideways range here. So you can see the market's got higher. Once it starts breaking higher out of this range here, that's just really consolidated the buying area. It's quite a strong indicator that we're going higher. It doesn't mean that they're not going to get some sort of pullback, which they got, and the pullback will normally come back to round about the top of the area where it broke from, which is sort of this 98.50 region. From there, it's pulled back and then launched itself higher. Once it broke this bit of a pivot here, you can see 5 minute sell came right there. The area is good. I'll just say the actual timing of it was a little bit difficult because it came on an extended candle. Just got to be careful of just a bit of a backlash from there and potentially stopping out before going. But as far as an area going higher, again, quite probable everything on the upside and very much going with it. And from there, as far as how high it goes, something like this, you certainly expect it to go up and test its highs. This particular case, it's very much just blasted away and headed straight up to the gap. Got within a tick of the gap, so this particular one, I guess in hindsight, had eyes for the gap, but certainly when it started breaking like this, it's predictable to go and test the highs. As far as going higher, I guess that's a little bit more of a risk, but eventually did get to that gap. And then to finish off, it's had a little bit of a pullback here. So that's a wrap up for Tuesday, and we'll be back on Wednesday.